All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back here again for week number 13 of Backyard Bookies. Yes, on the final week of the regular season, my partner bails on me. I'm all alone. He's off being lame somewhere on this holiday weekend. So you're stuck with me to handicap this final weekend of regular season games before we head into conference championship week. And obviously, the biggest news from this past week, Jordan Travis, Florida State quarterback, going down with a devastating leg injury. And what's the future going to hold for Florida State now? They have 2 games left on the schedule. They're at Florida this weekend, and then they have Louisville in the ACC championship game. I don't know what Florida State's going to do here. If they somehow manage to pull this off and win these 2 games, win the ACC, and run the table, I feel like the committee has to put this team into the college football playoff. I don't care that this team is significantly worse without their starting quarterback. They'll have a quality win against a top 10 Louisville team without their starting quarterback if they do get this thing done. And you can't just punish a team for an entire season of work, going perfect in a power football conference, playing LSU as your non-conference game, beating the doors off of them, and then punish all those kids because they lose their quarterback. They let Cincinnati in. They let TCU in last year. They probably weren't the 4 best teams. It's really the 4 most deserving teams. So Florida State, if they can win out, they should automatically be in. But if they don't, then the doors are wide open and we're going to have the chaos scenario in college football. The Michigan-Ohio State game this weekend, it's rivalry weekend. Massive, massive playoff implications. But let's just get into it here first. The score is 8.5-5 in favor of me for this last week of November. Scott's going to take a spin on this wheel regardless of what happens this week. But let's just get into it. I'm going to handicap my games. We have his picks for the week. I'll be going through them, showing up at the end. I can't really handicap them. I don't know what his logic is. He just sent me the picks here. Don't love a lot of them, honestly. But let's get into this first one. On Friday, we got UTSA at Tulane. UTSA catching 3.5 here. This is a big spot for the Roadrunners. If they can upset Tulane here, they're going to find themselves in the conference championship game next week. And UTSA has been awesome since quarterback Frank Harris came back. They're 7-0 with him returning, 8-3 on the season. He's a massive, massive pickup for this team. And Tulane really hasn't been covering against anybody. UTSA 3-1-1 in their last 4. Tulane doesn't win by margin at all. I mean, like ever. Last 4, they're 1-4 their last 5 weeks. They did cover last week against FAU, and I was kind of sus that they would do that. But they struggled with Tulsa, struggled with East Carolina, struggled with Rice, struggled with North Texas. I mean, 7-2, 3-2. They don't really cover anybody. Now, this should be a high-scoring, high-flying game. I know Tulane's defense is decent in the run game, but 109th in passing. I think this UTSA offense is going to carve them up. UTSA's defense is not great. Tulane's got a pretty decent offensive attack. I just don't think they can really hang with these people. I think Tulane is overrated. I know they have to win this game to have a shot at that New Year's Six Bowl because they are the New Year's Six team right now. But I just think the Roadrunners are a team who play really well under Jeff Traylor. It might be his final season at UTSA with the rumor swirling that he could be heading to Texas A&M as the new head coach. I think they go win one for the Gipper, win this thing out, get themselves into the conference championship game. Now they're gonna face an SMU team next week that I think is gonna win the conference. They are humming on all cylinders. But I love the Roadrunners here catching over a field goal. I think this is a prime spot. I would even look at them at the money line here at plus 145. But I'm just gonna take them as a regular bet. UTSA plus 3.5. Okay, for my next game here, this is a monster number. I don't love it. It's super scary, but these are just 2 mismatch units here. I got Tennessee here laying 27 points to Vanderbilt at home. I mean, Vanderbilt has just given up playing football. They're the worst team in the SEC year in and year out, and they have not gotten any better. They're 2-9 on the season. There's zero momentum for this program. They've given up playing football. They got blown out by South Carolina last weekend. South Carolina is awful, an awful football team who has been playing terrible all season. I mean, they lost to 16 to Auburn. Auburn just lost to New Mexico State. They can't even beat these teams that are struggling. Not only can they not beat them, they can't even be competitive with them. Tennessee, on the other hand, they got the doors blown up by Georgia, but Georgia's the best team in the country right now, and they got blown up by Missouri. So they had two tough games in a row. I don't love this Tennessee offense. We've talked about it all year. The offense in Tennessee isn't great. It's just not, it's an overrated team, it feels like. But this Vanderbilt squad is overrated, and Tennessee has blown out their bad opponents this season, and Vanderbilt's as bad as anybody on the schedule, and they're at home. Tennessee is a home front-running team. I expect them to take care of business. They destroyed this team last year, even without their quarterback. 56 to nothing. They won this game. So I'm not worried about, oh, it was a different year. They didn't have Hooker last year when they played Vanderbilt. They blew them out anyway. This is a great Tennessee team. Last year, not so much this year offensively, but you see what they did with that 56 points. I think this is just a total mismatch of teams. Tennessee, 8-4, trying to get some positive momentum on the season. It's a big, scary number, but sometimes you got to get the pain out. You play a conference team, a rivalry game. I guess in-state rivals. It's not really a rivalry, but I just think Tennessee overwhelms a Vanderbilt team who's completely given up on playing football. Maybe not just this year, maybe forever. It feels like they're always going to be bad at Vanderbilt. So it's a scary number, but I'm willing to take it here. Going to take the Tennessee Vols minus 27 against Vanderbilt. Okay, for my final regular pick, I'm going a little off the beaten path here. I just talked about New Mexico State. They got Jacksonville State this weekend, but I'm going not with the Aggies. I'm going with Jacksonville State here. They're laying 2.5, which some would say, what the hell? They're 2.5-point favorites on the road against the New Mexico State team who just embarrassed Auburn. That's the key thing here. New Mexico State's not playing for anything. They've already punched in to the conference championship game next week. They're not going anywhere. They're not doing any moving. I don't expect the starters to play the full game. Maybe they play the first half. Maybe they go into it, but they're not really competing for anything. They have to get healthy. They have to get prepped up. And they just had the biggest win in program history. You're going to have a letdown. That win was insane. They just got paid $1 million+ to go to Auburn and hand them a fat L. They've been celebrating. They've been partying. It's the holidays all week. I don't expect to see a super focused team. I don't expect to see the starters at all in this game. They're going to pull them out. Jacksonville State's not a bad ball club. They're 4-1 against the spread the last 5. They lost to 10 to South Carolina. I know I just shit on South Carolina, but South Carolina is a P5 SEC team. Jacksonville State's a piss-ass group of 5 team. They're 8-3 on the season. I think this is a solid group. They're number 3 in offense in rushing the football in the country. Now, New Mexico State's decent on the run defense, but that's an elite rushing attack for this Jacksonville State team, and they have everything to play for. This is their bowl game. They just petitioned the NCAA to become bowl eligible. It was denied because the NCAA is the no-fun league. It's the no-fun conference. They don't care about kids. They just care about themselves and money. So this is their bowl game. This is their Super Bowl. They got to go into New Mexico and take home a dub. It's less than a field goal. I love it. All we got to do is win this game by over 2.5 points. So win by 3. That's all I need against the New Mexico State team that's not going to be playing their starters, I think, for most of this game in preparation for the conference championship game next week. So I'm going to take Jacksonville State here, laying 2.5 on the road at the New Mexico State Aggies. Okay, for my prop bet this week, I'm going with the Chiefs. I'm going with Patrick Mahomes. They're at the Vegas Raiders, so it's going to be indoors, nice weather. And this is kind of just a revenge bounce back spot. They blew that game against Philadelphia on Monday night. Things are not happy. Things are not sitting well. There's all this talk about the receivers, how they can't catch the ball. And trust me, I know they can't. Where's Travis Kelce? But I think Mahomes and them get right here. I know the Raiders are playing tough. They're playing hard under Antonio Pierce, but they still gave up 300 yards passing to a Dolphins team that only scored 20 points last week. It's just they give up yards. They may not give up the points. I think Mahomes throws the ball. They air the ball out. They're going to try and get these receivers' confidence up. They're going to try and work more guys into it. They just got to get into a rhythm. They got to get some reliability, work out what they do on offense. I know they run the ball super effectively, Kansas City, but I think this is the right week to get your receivers involved, try and work these things out, because you have to get this thing figured out before the postseason starts. It's going to be good climate-controlled weather in lovely Las Vegas. It's only 265.5 for Mahomes. Now, I know he struggled to hit that target this year, but it's still Mahomes. It's still an electric passing offense. I think Kelsey had 3 touchdowns against this team last year in Vegas. I know it's kind of a new regime, new energy. I just think they're going to do a great job. He's going to light it up. They're primed for a bounce back spot. So I'm going with my man Mahomes, Kermit the Frog, bounce back spot. Need him big this week in fantasy. Only 265.5 passing yards. I'm taking the over. All right, I'm just going to hop in, run down Scott's picks this week for y'all. I know y'all are keeping super attention to this. He's been real hot this month. Just kidding, but he was much better last week. Let's get into it. He likes Florida State -6.5 at Florida. I would not touch this game with a 10-foot pole. I've already talked about this. He's taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, getting 2.5 at the Colts. I don't mind this. I like Tampa Bay. I think they're a good team. Indianapolis secondary is pretty bad, and we know there's a decent passing game with Mike Evans. Baker Mayfield's 50-50, but he's usually all right, especially when people start to doubt them. They played a decent game against Frisco. They were overwhelmed early, but they fought real hard to stay in that game, so I actually really like that pick a lot. His next one, Western Kentucky -10 at FAU. I mean, I like the Hilltoppers. I don't know if I like them that much. It's a great uniform, great mascot. His prop bet is Garrett Wilson over 51.5 receiving yards. Yeah, I'm assuming Tim Boyle's going to have to force the ball to him against Miami. God bless the Jets. God bless betting on any Jet overs that isn't Breece Hall. You just never know what you're going to get out of them. So he's got Garrett Wilson over 51.5 yards. And for his upset of the week, he's got the Cal Golden Bears +290 at the UCLA Bruins. Don't hate this at all. Cal fighting to get bowl eligible. I think this is a game they have to win to get bowl eligible. UCLA just beat USC. Big time celebrations. There's rumors Chip Kelly's probably going to get fired, but maybe not after last week. Who knows? But I think that's a good spot for Cal. I think they're going to really bring their A game. And Cal's been kind of 50-50 this year. They've been kind of competitive, kind of not. It just depends on the week. So if you catch Cal on a good week, they're going to give UCLA a game. And if they do that, this could be a prime spot for an upset. But let's wrap it up with the final upset, the final pick for me this regular season. There's a big football game being played on Saturday in the lovely state of Michigan. It's a big game. I think everyone's eyes are going to be on it. It's primed for an upset. This is a massive, massive game with all the implications in the world. And I'm talking about Toledo at Central Michigan. This is the game, the Rockets of Toledo against the Chippewas of Central Michigan. Everybody's got their eyes tuned to this game. It's going to be a big time, folks. Look, Toledo's 10-1. There's a outside chance, a small outside chance that they got a shot to get into that New Year's Six Bowl as the top group of 5 team. I don't think it's going to happen. They're already locked up for the conference championship game. So a loss here isn't going to really mean much to them. The weather's not going to be good, apparently, in Michigan. But Central Michigan, 5-6 on the season. They need this game. They need this game to get bowl eligible. That's the kind of stuff I like this weekend. They're getting 10.5. So if you don't want to take the full dive in there with me, plus 10.5, big number. Over 10, that's an awesome, awesome number. The public seems to love it. I think, again, this is another setup where Toledo's probably not going to play their guys. They're resting for the conference championship game. Central Michigan's at home. They have all the effort in the world to get bowl eligible. They have to win this game to get bowl eligible. So I expect them to do this. The numbers aren't necessarily on their side whatsoever, especially defensively. They're not good in really anything, anywhere. They run the ball okay, I guess, but I think this is just a perfect spot for a team that's down on their luck. They need to win to get in, and Toledo's got nothing to play for. They've already in their conference championship game. They got a game next week. They're not really in. They're not undefeated. They're not playing for any sort of that stuff. They already have 10 wins. What's an 11th or 12th win going to do for you? I mean, maybe you can brag about it, but they have already hit those key numbers. It's another team I expect to pull off their starters early, and that was my key this week. Teams who are fighting for bowl eligibility, who have a lot on the line, get desperate. We just saw tonight, Mississippi State almost brought down Ole Miss. Mississippi State's horrible, but they had everything to fight for. They tried their ass off. They fell just short, but those are the kind of games you want to look for this season. So I'm going to go with the Chippewas plus 310 here in the upset of Toledo All right, that's going to do it for us this week. I appreciate everybody who stopped by, stood with me through my solo rant and talk about it. We got big time games next week. We will be back next week for the kickoff of December. Haven't quite figured out how we're going to do December as far as the bowl games and scoring. I want to go all the way through December, but my partner doesn't love picking NFL games. Maybe you'll get a little warmer if those Bucks cash for him this weekend. But there's a lot of stuff to be played for. The playoffs next week, essentially a playoff game at Ann Arbor this weekend in Ohio State, Michigan. We got Oregon State, Oregon also being played. Oregon needs to win that game to get to the Pac-12 title game. Washington needs to win to have a shot to stay alive for the college football playoff. So there's everything to play for here. I'm just going to run down my picks one last time, and we'll have mine and Scott up here on the board. So I'm going to go with UTSA plus 3.5 at Tulane. I got Jacksonville State minus 2.5 versus New Mexico State. Tennessee minus 27 versus Vanderbilt. Patrick Mahomes over 265.5 passing yards. And Central Michigan in the upset of Toledo. Thanks for everyone for stopping by. I hope you had a fantastic Thanksgiving. If you haven't already, click that like button, hit that thumbs up. It really helps the channel out a lot. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We got new sports content every single day. If you want to support the channel more, hit that join button. It really helps me out a lot. You can subscribe, get access to early content, exclusive content, cool badges, emojis, things to use for the live streams throughout the year. Helps me keep making all this great sports content for you guys every single day. Again, like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.